Hello and welcome, everyone. I am so excited to bring you into the show. I am so excited to be here and be present with you. This is Pride Month. So, woo! Welcome! Here we are celebrating Pride Month. We are celebrating and uplifting the stories of every single history maker in this space. We are honoring and remembering those that have died by suicide. We are also in a deep place of gratitude and honoring the fact that every person holds brilliance. And so in this space, we are going to be stepping in. We are going to be going deep. We are going to be uplifting and honoring everybody that shows up on this screen. And so we also want to take a moment, and as we honor those that have died by suicide, that are no longer with us, to just send love out to their families and friends, to send love to their loved ones, to send love to those that are still on this earth, trying to figure out how to make space for grief, how to make space for loving and honoring, how to make space for forgiveness. And I also want to invite anyone that is in the middle of coming out, that is in the middle of celebrating who they are at the very center of their being, to just welcome you into being, welcome you into loving, welcome you into being accepted, and to knowing you're not alone and that this is a space where every part of you is divine and brilliant and is welcome and celebrated. I would like to welcome in Erica, Cece, Tammy, Tyler, and Maurice. They're going to be sharing stories with us today, and I'm going to step back for a moment and would invite each of you in whatever order you would love to go in to introduce yourself.
My name's Tyler. I'm a resident here at B. Riley.
My name is Tamara, and I'm also here at B. Riley at the Three-Quarter House.
My name is Cece, and I'm also a resident at the B. Riley House.
My name is Erica. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and they, them. And I am the AmeriCorps Vista at the ADAMHS Board.
Hi all, Maurice Cole, he, him, and I work at the Cuyahoga County Board of Health.
Welcome each of you, and thank you so much for joining. I do want to, since we've now made intros, to start off the show by sharing that we do have a content warning. Everyone here has shared with us that we are comfortable putting this in the space. Today we will be talking about several different topics. We are going to be talking about what it means to come out. That does not need the content warning. However, in those stories, we will be sharing about suicide, trauma, and substance use disorder. And so in there, we just want to offer and invite anyone in to know that that is some of the wisdom and brilliance and story that we will be sinking into. And that if that is something that you need to shift from or take moments and pauses and breaks from, this is your moment to do that. So please be comfortable and welcome in making a choice that is safest for you. Now, we will be sinking in. So starting off with the question, what was it like for everyone on this call to come out? What did that look like for you?
All right, I'll lean in. Thanks. So, oh goodness, there's still emotion after all this time that comes with this. I have known that I was different since I was 7 years old. I literally had a moment where I said, oh my gosh, life is gonna be harder because of who I like. And I didn't have the words for like how I love, but I knew then. And so, you know, I lived my life. I did have some childhood trauma that was introduced, but a very supportive family who just loved me for me. And then, but like being in a small town of like 6,000 people in rural Southern Ohio, like it was hard enough to be Black. I didn't have the bandwidth, I think, then to be Black and gay in that small town. So I sort of hid some of those aspects of myself. And I was always like artistic and, you know, I like sang and was in band. And so it was okay that I was into theater, and it was okay that I invited people over to watch the gymnastics at every Olympics, or I could name every figure skater. And I used to cheer for my brother's basketball team when I was that same, you know, little kid at 7, 8, and 9. But then, you know, in college, it became more of like, hey, like you gotta sort of figure this out. And so, you know, there were some girls that I loved along the way, and I have been able to maintain friendships with some of them, but not with all of them, because they felt like, you know, in sort of sharing their heart with me, that I wasn't being my authentic self. So it took me a while, and really a breakup at age 23 to really step into my full sort of, you know, living out loud as a gay male. And even then it was undercover. Like, I had a good group of friends that I could go out with in Cincinnati, but I wasn't really out to my family. That came much later, when I was, I don't know, just at this like crisis point in love, being in love with two people that were both guys in different cities, and trying to navigate that process. But I'm here. I'm proud of that and happy for that, and happy to, you know, sort of share this space. But it won't easy, y'all. And if I could pass along a word of advice, it would be to, you know, find your family, find your clique, find your clan, lean into those folks, be with people who fill you up in a good way, who affirm you, who love you just as you are. And I've always been fortunate to have a really great circle of support, even though it took me a while. So I marvel and sort of tip my hat to those folks who can be their authentic selves at a younger age. But for me, there was a lot that I experienced between sort of 7 and 23, and finally stepping into my own to say I'm gay.
Coming out was pretty difficult for me. My parents were divorced, so I had to do it 2 times. So I came out to my mom first, and she actually was really understanding and supportive. And it was like the most I could ask for. It was really amazing. And then I came out to my dad, who is, I guess he's Baptist. He's evangelical. So when I came out to him, it was really, really rough. He immediately made me leave his house, and he wouldn't let me back in for a while. He told me that I was gonna like bring the demons in with me into his house, and that he didn't want me there. So it's still a struggle with my dad. He still doesn't really support me. He's told me that, I hope he doesn't watch this, but he's told me that he won't come to my wedding if I marry a woman. But I'm just doing my best still with him to be graceful. I know that he grew up in a different time, and I know that that is his burden to carry. It's not mine. And I used to carry it, but I'm not going to carry it anymore.
Thank you, Erica. I'm Tyler. Again, I'm a resident here at B. Riley. I'm a person who is living in recovery from substance abuse disorder. Maurice he touched upon that he knew he was different from a very young age. I also knew that I was different from a very young age. At a very young age, I was called a lot of derogatory slurs. And I kind of internalized a lot of that, and I knew that, you know, I was different. And when I came of age, I kind of stayed in the closet up until I was about 22 years old. I unfortunately used drugs and alcohol to become more comfortable in my own skin. That kind of led me down a very dark path. And I came out to my mom when I was 22. First thing out of her mouth was, does this mean that I'm not going to have grandchildren? And that was very hurtful at that time. But she's come a long way. She's very accepting today. I told my dad about a year and a half later, and I really haven't had to tell a lot of people about coming out. My mom kind of took care of that for me. I didn't ask her to. At the time, I was angry that she was telling other sexuality. but I learned I have not resented her since. Um, today I'm totally surrounded by love. There's not a single person that I know in my family that would turn away from me because of my sexuality. Being here at B. Riley, I am also surrounded by love and support. It's an LGBT sober house, and I'm surrounded by just an unconditional amount of love. I mean, it's amazing, and I just feel fully supported, and I can really be comfortable in my own skin today.
I'm Tamara. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm also at the B. Riley 3/4 house after finishing up here at the halfway house. My story is kind of similar to Marie's. I'm from a very small town of, at the time, probably less than 5,000 in Western Ohio. And I knew, just like everybody had mentioned prior, that I knew that I was different from a young age. And I grew up in the late 70s and 80s. And unfortunately, when I played with dolls, or if I picked up the doll that I wanted and played with it, it was taken away from me. And I was given a baseball or a football or a G.I. Joe. But I didn't want to play with G.I. Joe. I wanted to play with Barbie because I wanted to be Barbie, or at least I felt like Barbie. And I was discouraged from any of that, and I was encouraged to be a male and do male things. And I came from a very good family, and I love my mother and especially my father. And so, being the first son of the first son, I had expectations laid upon me, and I did what my father told me. I played sports, I dated girls, but I always had these underlying problems that I never dealt with and I couldn't deal with. Back then, gender dysphoria was not even a word. I didn't learn that until my 40s, late 40s. Transgender was not a word. Transsexual was not a word. It just wasn't something that I ever got a chance to do. So I just tried my best to do what my dad did. I wanted to be in the school play, but I played football and I couldn't be in the play. And later on, I wanted to go to Ohio University and go and be a writer and an actor. And my father discouraged that. So I went to the University of Cincinnati for business because I love my father. And I did my best to uphold those values that they had. But unfortunately for me, I had a secret. I had this secret within me, and I created a secret life. I cross-dressed. I have a stash of clothes, and throughout my adult life, I would have this secret life that I led. And I've been married twice, and during that time, I have ruined some wonderful women's lives because I never came out to them. I couldn't. I was afraid. Fear really ran my life. Fear of being outed, because I had never got a chance to express who I was until I lived in the Cincinnati area most of my life, and I got a job, a nice job up here. I didn't totally abuse drugs and alcohol during most of my life, but I used them to act out because I was too afraid to do anything. But any chance I got, I would act out on business trips and things of that nature. And I came up here, and I quickly was able to do some things that I've always wanted to be somebody different, to be the woman, to go out as a woman. And but I still had fear. Unfortunately for me, or fortunately, I say not unfortunately, fortunately, I became addicted to drugs. and I use the substances to get the courage to become who I am now, and that was a wonderful thing. But unfortunately for me, that was the hook that kept me. I was afraid to stop because I feared that I would not have the courage to keep on going. And luckily for me, I came into this wonderful recovery center, as Tyler said, which is LGBTQ plus community, and was able to learn very quickly that I'm more feminine, I am more me, I am more the person that I was born to be than I ever was when I was on drugs. And it's such a wonderful thing. And I am proud when I say that I am a recovering addict, because the addiction gave me me. And I'm glad that I came up here to Cleveland and was able to do this. And I'm just now coming out. I still have family that aren't sure what's going on because of my, while I was in active addiction, I severed ties with everybody. And I know that, with my parents, I've talked to my parents a lot, and they're still kind of iffy. But luckily for me, I'm older, I understand, they came from a different era, and I accept that. And I know it's going to take some time, and I'm willing to take that time to bring them on board. And as they get to know me, I'm confident that they will love me just as they loved Joel. My name is Tamara, but I was born Joel, and I am still Joel. Joel is still in there. But Joel silently suffered his whole life, and Joel was a really sad person and didn't show emotion. Tamara, the real me, shows emotion. I love. I have anger. I have joy. I have joy that I've never known in my life. And it's such a wonderful thing. And so coming out, I was able to attend our Pride Parade this year on a whim, and I had a friend, and his name was Gene Helmstetter, and he was a very close friend of mine, and he committed suicide back in 1989, and because I ran with the cool kids, he went through a lot of ridicule. And I never stood up for him, even though we enjoyed a friendship off to the side. And though I didn't have time to make a sign, he was on my mind the whole time. And I can only hope that I can live the rest of my life with the grace that he did, and continue to be filled with joy and grace by being who I am and being proud.
My name is CC. I'm 23 years old. I've been this way ever since I was little. And my friends and everybody, they took it, they always knew that I was this way. They always accepted me. They didn't really make fun of me. I mean, I had a couple of bullies here and there, but other than that, they always knew I was this way. My family, I like to believe they always knew I was this way too, but I didn't come out to them until I was like, probably, I think 8 was the first time I came out to my mom. And then she said it was just a phase. Then I came out to my grandmother and them, but when I came out to my grandmother and them, I came out to my aunties first at the house. Me, my younger auntie that's 5 years older than me, then I have another auntie that's 7 years older than me. My auntie's name is Brianna Rowena. We grew up like brothers and sisters. So I told them first. They was excited. We were sitting in her room on the bed, and they were all lovey-dovey with me, painting my nails. Brianna started working on my eyebrows, and we all in there laughing and giggling. I told them the boy I liked in school, and they smiling like, "Oh my God!" So this is really you, like you finally coming out. I said, "Yeah," and they made me feel real love, right? Then I went to go tell my grandmother, and all of us are scared because we don't know what she gonna say. We don't know how they used to act. We don't know how they're gonna act. And I've always dressed up in their heels, their makeup, and everything when I was younger. And I would get in trouble for it, but they never beat me. They always sent me to my room and said, they just told me to stay in my room. I know what you did. I used to hide their cameras and stuff, and I'd dress up and play Beyonce on the radio and put a t-shirt on my head and wear it like it was a wig and dance around in it. And they caught me on videos and they would watch it, but they ain't never said nothing about it. And when I went in the room to tell her that this is the way that I was, she told me to stand up and say it again. I stood up. I said, I'm gay. She said, say it again. I said, I'm gay. She took me to her back patio and told me to look out there. It was nighttime. She told me to look out. And I looked out. I started crying. And she said, say I'm gay again. Say it again until you confident with it, because I'm going to stay here with you and hold your hand. And we're going to walk this walk together. And so I said it, and she hugged me. She said, I love you. It's okay. So then I went back inside, and I told my aunties, and she said she okay with it and everything. So then they was at ease. Later on that night, I went and stood by her door, and I heard her conversation. She never knows, still to this day, that I heard her conversation, which she said to my aunt Shirley. And she said, where did I go wrong? And she cried, and she said, Roshan just came out to me. Where did I go wrong? What do I do? And I bust out crying, and I ran from the door. I heard my auntie cussing her out, telling her that this is the way that I am. You're just supposed to accept me. There's nothing wrong with me. But she never knows, still to this day, that I know that that's what she said. So I came out to my mom when my mom was in jail, and I told her how I felt. And I sent her a long, detailed message about this is the way I am. I was so excited to tell her because everybody else was accepting me. It was still going so well. So I tried to tell her, and she won't be a little back in jail, telling me that I'm not going to be this way. She doesn't accept me. That's not allowed. She's going to change me when she come back here. We're going to work through this together. It's just a phase. And she didn't raise me to be this way. And she blames herself for me turning out to be this way. When she gets home, we're going to fix it. I'm not broken. So I cut her off and I left her alone. And I was mad. I cussed her out. And I had hard times at home. And it was starting to get on my nerves. I left home at a young age. I quit school at a young age. Went out to the streets and said, this is what I wanted to do because I was in so much pain. And somebody told me that if I smoked my drug of choice that I was smoking, then I feel way better and I won't be in so much pain. My family looked for me for years, but I ran from them because I was hurt on the inside. I keep being this person that y'all want me to be. And she telling me that girls gonna love you. You're such a handsome man. You girls are gonna love you. You're gonna make all the girls happy. And to disappoint her would hurt me. So I was like, okay, all right. And I dressed up in the suits and stuff, and I did choir and I did all of that stuff too. But the music part was for me because I love singing. And when I got to do that, I got to be with other gay dudes that I knew was the way that they were. So I got to be around them and it made me feel good. And my auntie, my grandmother didn't want me going to high school. It's a school in Atlanta called Tri-Cities, and she didn't want me to go there because it was LGBTQ friendly. She wanted me to go to Banneker, which would beat down the gay people for being gay or beat down lesbians and stuff like that for being the way they were. And my aunties told her that and begged her to send me to the school that I wanted to go to. So I did. And that's when I started coming out more. I started wearing hair more, doing my makeup more, doing nails. And I realized when I looked in the mirror that, oh, okay, so this is more to me. I've always felt these feelings on the inside. I always felt like I was a woman on the inside, but I was so scared to do so at home. So when I left home and I was able to sign up for my own papers, I quit school. When I quit school, I went to a homeless program and they took care of me. They gave me love. They told me it's okay to be the way that I was. So I started stepping into my shoes more. I started putting my feet into my own shoes and walking that walk. And ever since then, I've never looked back. I feel amazing. I feel happy. And now my family, they say that they accept me, and I know that they do. And now if they see the way that I am with the hair and finally in my own shoes and not wearing somebody else's shoes, they're okay with it. They walk down the street with me. They love me unconditionally. They're happy that I got into this program. They're helping me be in my sober program. And it's beautiful now. It's beautiful now. I hate that I had to leave home in order for them to wake up, but sometimes you got to do some tough stuff in order to get your point across.
Yes, that is, and that I feel like you just said, each of you said something brilliant. And sometimes it does take tough things to get your point across, to be clear with everyone else around where your boundary is and how you deserve to be loved and how they can love you while honoring that boundary. And so I am just deeply excited about this conversation that we are going to continue to have. The next thing that we had marinated in earlier was around talking about family and finding community. So what has it been like for you all on your journey to finding community? And what has that looked like? And what do people need to know about that journey?
You know, it sounds cliche to say that it gets better, but I think it's important to hear that. And I will use the example of my own, from my own experience. And I also want to just uplift the other panelists in this time, because sometimes it's not easy to be, you know, maybe as raw or as honest as we might like to be. And so, even though I had sort of started this conversation, I offered up a sanitized version, and I'd like to get a little dirtier with it for a moment and say that when I told my mom at 23 that I was gay, she cried. She was devastated. And I always thought in my head that it would be difficult for her, especially because she had this vision of me that I would like be married with, you know, 2.5 kids in the garage and the dog and all of that stuff. And I was taking that from her and being my authentic self. And she began drinking, which is a story that I've not told before. And so, you know, my dad, who she literally said to me, if you tell your father, it will kill him. She has since apologized for that. My dad has since passed on. My mom is 81. And if she ever hears this, she'll be like, that's my baby. That's right. All of those things happened. But she started drinking. And my dad said, like, you waited until you're like 65 to like become like a bar hopper. Like, what's going on? And every time I came home, she would cry. She'd like burst into tears. And so she and I held this secret for like 4 years because she was convinced that it would destroy my dad. And so I had to navigate all of this other stuff. So it was messy to come home because I was like, I don't freaking want this kind of pressure. Like, I get enough to deal with on my own. But on the day that I finally like shared the story with my dad, at my mom's urging, because she just couldn't bear it anymore, he said to me, and this is the it gets better part. He said, listen, your mother and I will be okay. We just want to make sure that you're okay. And also, if you decide not to be a parent, because I think in his mind, he was processing like that maybe I wouldn't have this sort of perfect nuclear family. He said, if you decide not to be a parent, that's okay. And don't ever let anyone make you feel bad about that. But then he said, but if you do decide to be a parent, I want you to know that any child would be lucky and blessed to have you as their dad. And so that's what it meant for me to really stand in my truth and to be received. And now my 81-year-old mom is my best friend who will defend my right to love and to live to anyone. And so for me, it literally gets better. And so I just can't say enough about how it's important to find those people who lift you up. And if that's not your parent, or that's not your granny or your auntie or whomever, find that person who just affirms you, who loves you just as you are, so that you can get past some of the stuff that used to feel so burdensome that now is maybe a little lighter and easier to bear. So sorry for like stepping back, but I just have to acknowledge that, you know, I'm drawing strength from all of you here today to tell a more authentic and maybe a little dirtier, messier version of my story. But y'all, it gets better. It gets better. Find your path, because life is such a joy. It's such a blessing. And life is also full of grace. And don't ever let anyone tell you that it's not.
Maurice, thank you for that. And thank you for letting us see you and see the authenticity and see who you are when you don't have to put on the armor to be safe. And then go ahead, Cece.
My biggest community at all is, well, finding community. That was the question, right? It starts with my brother. Now, me and my brother grew up together. He's 20 years old. Me and my brother grew up together, and I always used to beat him up, and I felt bad for that, but you know, it was chastised. Like, he did little kid for tit for tat things, and he'd come in and mess with me, and I rough him up a little bit. But he always loved staying underneath me. Like, no matter what, I'm like, dude, get away from me. But he loved being around me. And that's how all my siblings is. I'm the oldest one out of all my siblings. There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 of us. And they all love me from the oldest, from the second oldest to the babies. All of them crazy about me. But I did not know how much of an impact that had on my younger brother until I left home. He went through a lot of trauma. And my family telling me the stories about it now that I'm getting sober. And they like, he always said, can you please go out there and get my brother, get my sister, can you please go out there and look for him? I just want him to be back here because I know somebody out there hurting him. And he always stood up for me. He always loved me. He don't care that I'm like this now. He loved me to death, unconditionally. And I did not know how much of an impact I had on him until when I came back down here and we had a cookout here at the B. Riley house. And the little ones came and they jumped into my arms and he came. Now he's straight, so he's not used to being around a whole bunch of us, like how he is around straight people. So he's used to smoking weed and doing all of that. He come here and all he see is different. I say different versions of me. He see different versions of me, and he like, kind of uncomfortable. But he hugged me and he was smiling and he took a picture of us. I had on all white. From head to toe. I had on all white. And my mom took a picture of us, and on the cover, and he doesn't believe in God, but on this cover, on a piece of the picture, he got the phone in his hand, and he said, "I called on God and asked for my guardian, and God sent me my angel." And I'm standing behind him, and he's taller than me, and we standing like side to side like this, and he got wings on the picture like this, and I'm looking off into the distance. So, like, that was beautiful for me, and we had a heart-to-heart in the car, and he told me, and he's going to a summer program too, so he could get his life together. And it's beautiful. I mean, I came home, and when I came home, I did not know how strong it was, but when I came home, everybody jumped back into track like that. The kids love that I'm here. They know they can come and see me anytime, and they so happy that I'm back, and they smiling and laughing, and I know it's real genuine joy. I miss the babies. When I see my brother, he real nonchalant, but I know he happy I'm back too because he had some shoes to fill when I left. He ain't got some shoes to worry about no more, so he all right. And so that's my community right there. Like I'm happy when I see all of them and I look at all of them. He's sitting there, he's smiling, he giving me good words of advice. He like, "I'm proud of you." He said he knew I've been through a lot of trauma. He knew I've been through a lot of hurt, and he knew when I left home, I never had to ask for nothing. But he has always been in my corner. He's still in my corner to this day, and we got that bond like no other. Like this dude, he'll go to bat for me. Him and my auntie Rolina will go to bat for me. My auntie Rolina has always been a fighter in my family. Like when people was bullying me, she came outside fighting dudes and females for me. She didn't care which one it was. I'm not about to hurt my baby. And I did her wrong. I know I did her dead wrong when I went home because I brought my dude back. And we were coming down off the drugs, and she kicked us back out to the street because he wasn't doing nothing. It was only for 3 days, but she's not used to dealing with people like that. And then she had a little daughter, and he was eating up all the food and stuff. So I did do her wrong, and I stole from them, and I took them through hell. When I came back, I apologized to her, and she forgave me wholeheartedly. Like, she forgave me wholeheartedly. I've never done that to my family, and I've always been the nice one. So she forgave me wholeheartedly, and I felt so bad. Since this day, I felt bad that I did that to her because I should have never let that influence it. But she still took my hand, and when I told her I was coming to get myself together, she said, "You got this. I'm in your corner. I always loved you. I'm always here for you, and you making me proud doing this. You got this. I love you. You need anything, I'm here for you." And she clapped it up, and she's been there for me. So it's like I never left. And she's always been my favorite. Like we always ran neck and neck together. Like I've always wanted to be just like her. And when she see me dressed up, she be like, "You bad." She used to post on my pictures all the time. "You beautiful. Look at you. Blossom and everything. Look at you." That's when we walk around together and she look at me, she be smiling and everything. She be like, "I'm happy to be around you, And my auntie's beautiful. She is a beautiful, thick woman. She's beautiful. So like she hyped me up to want to keep on doing it more and more and more. She give me back my what they call it. She amped me up. She amped me up. She put me in a good space. So those are my two, and being here with them. I mean, it's beautiful being here with them. But those are my two family members that are good for my community. I know I said a whole lot for but
for me, I again, by the grace of my God, I was lucky enough to have came up into an area that I'm not from. Nobody knew the person that I was prior. And so I quickly surrounded myself with people who accepted me. And I moved to Lakewood, which is a community that is very accepting of the LGBTQ plus community. And that has really helped me. It helped me to an extent, but because of my substance abuse problems, I also surrounded myself with other substance abusers. And like Cece said, by the grace again of my God, I was able to come to a place where I was accepted here and could continue my growth. I started transitioning just a little under 2 years ago, July, at the end of July 2 years ago, 2019. And it's been a magical journey. My best friend, who we were substance abusers together, is now in the program with me, and he will be my friend to the end. And I have made such a wonderful group of friends, of family. My family I know is here. I intend to live out the rest of my life here in Cleveland. It's a very inclusive, wonderful community, and I can't imagine leaving it. I because I'm just now coming out to my family, I'm going to have to go back and reintroduce myself. Most of the people know, but I'm again feel like I'm lucky because as an older person, I'm actually 53. I have the great, and through this program, through recovery, I've been given the grace to understand that my parents came from a different era. I'm not going to be accepted by everybody. People are different, and just as I tolerate or ask to be tolerated, I have to tolerate some people because of their view, their either their personal views or their religion, and I'm okay with that. There's plenty of people who are going to love me around. I don't have to rail against people who are bigoted. I can just leave them go and forget about it. And that's the wonderful gift of grace that I've been given in recovery. So I spoke to my dad the first time. I could feel the disappointment. I think they thought that once I came out of drug psychosis that I would want to be a boy again. Wrong. I was more, and I had to explain that to him. And the first thing he said was, well, people talk around here. And as much as that hurt, and as much as the younger person would have probably said, well, screw you, Dad, I'll see you later. I understood where he was coming from. And I said, it's okay, Dad. If I have to come visit you quietly and then leave quietly, that's okay. We'll do that. We'll ease into this. And I think that really helped ease them. And every time I talk to them, they are getting to know me better, and they realize I'm a better person. The old person was a liar because he built his whole life on a lie. And it's I'm excited. I'm excited to come out. I have a huge family, and I know that they're going to be some of my family members extended that aren't going to accept me, and I've already come to peace with that. And again, age and wisdom have are going to help me with that. And so I feel lucky. I feel lucky that I waited till now, that it happened this way. This is the way for me that it had to happen. And I'm so grateful for the gift that I've been given.
And for me, again, like I said earlier, I have an amazing supportive family. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, and coming from Youngstown, I felt very alienated. There isn't a huge LGBT community down there, and I felt like I was alone in a lot of ways. So prior to coming to B. Riley, I went to rehab, and I was recommended to come to B. Riley, and I heard that it was an LGBT sober house in Cleveland, Ohio. So I came here with an open mind, and I met Tammy, and Tammy was the first person to show me just how kind people can be. You know, she was the first transgender person that I ever got to know in my life, and that was a huge deal for me. You know, I didn't understand the trans community. I didn't know anything about being transgender. I still don't know anything about being transgender. I don't know what it's like to be transgender, but now I have an understanding of what it's like to be friends with somebody and to love someone unconditionally who is transgender. And that is how this place works. I mean, there is unconditional love here. We're here for a common reason. We have a substance abuse disorder, and we come together for that reason. But in other reasons, we're growing, and there's so much that I've learned since I've been here, and I have found my community. I am surrounded by the people of the LGBT community, and I am just full of, every day for me is just, I'm just full of love. And I've really found my place here in Cleveland, and I also want to relocate to Cleveland, and I want to be here for a very long time.
Just to chime in real quick, I've got to say this. These guys don't know, but you know, they know that I have 4 children. They're adult, and they are accepting of me, but they all live away from me. And these young people, who I'm so proud of and so happy to know, they give me so much more joy than I could ever give them. I try to give them some advice, but I'm just making it up. They're doing it themselves. They give me the most joy that I've ever felt. I mean, it's wonderful.
I love it.
It's about love.
I just want to say that, like Maurice, you mentioned that your mom started drinking after you came out to her, and Cece, you mentioned your grandma kind of going to, you know, she was like in a dark place that night after you came out to her. And I think that queer people, honestly, are a gift to the world. I know that we're a gift to the world because we make people think differently from a different perspective. Yeah, people will do things that are harmful to themselves because they can't deal with us or the pain that surrounds it. But it's kind of like we are kind of like a mirror to other people where they can see their insecurities and the things they don't like about themselves. If someone doesn't support you and love you, it's not because of you, it's because of a problem they have with themselves. So I know we're a gift to this world, and that's just one of the reasons we're a gift. The queer community is so beautiful and diverse, and I have met so many incredible people just by, I mean, I've wanted to meet these people for a really long time, but I was living in shame and I was not living in authenticity and vulnerability. So then I slowly, as I got older, I started to live in authenticity and vulnerability. And I started, that really like opened me up to meeting people who had similar interests to me. And, you know, if you're all closed up and you're hiding yourself, you're not going to meet people. So you just kind of got to put yourself out there and just be ready for whatever's going to happen. It's really exciting. There are so many people like you out there, like us. There are so many of us all around. So yeah, just put yourself out there and you'll meet your community. You'll meet your family.
Yeah, I would also love to give a shout out to the local like LGBT sports family community that I've been a part of for the last 20 years. So I played softball at North Coast Softball. I'm not a great softball player, but it was something that I sort of designed for my straight buddy and I to do because he was about to leave town and I needed some like bonding moment, and he's like a jock. So when they asked me, like, they're like, "Hey Mo, are you like a ringer?" And I was like, "No, but my straight buddy is." So I joined the team. I played for like 15 years. There's also Stonewall Sports right now, so they've got like bocce and dodgeball and kickball, and so there's a huge community of folks who are also just looking to like be seen and heard and affirmed. And so I would encourage folks to, to check out some of those local resources, because Cleveland has a huge community of folks that just also want to be seen and heard and loved and affirmed. And so there's space for us all.
And that leads us into our last question, which you all have, interwoven in beautiful ways throughout this space, of the question around, like, how are you healing? What does that look like? And one of the things that I've learned in my own healing journey, just around trauma in general, is that healing cannot be done in isolation. A good friend of mine, Q, says that healing is a community act. It can't be done by yourself in isolation, that grief and joy and rage and all of those things are communal. And so the only way to actually move through it is with other people. And so you all have shown that, just even in the community we have on this call, in the way that you all have shown up with each other and for yourselves and with yourselves. And so what has it looked like, and what do you need from any of the allies or communities to continue on that healing journey, to take your steps?
The way that I am healing is I talked to my family about it, and I actually talked to the groups that we have here way more so I can get it out into the open, because they've taught me being here so far that speak whatever negativity, whatever's inside my head, whatever's on my heart that is making me stunt my growth, speak it out into the open and get it out into the world so it will be off of my chest, and then I can feel so much better. I've been having band-aids ripped off one by one from my past life, from when I was out in the streets, from a dude. I had a dude that I was dating for 6 years that done a lot to me physically, that is like physically staying unchangeable. But at this day and time, I'm healing because I'm moving through the processes. If y'all don't mind if I share with y'all something that's like deep for me. I've been dating this dude for 6 years, and I was in love with him. I changed my whole life from him. I left my family alone from him. And he never told me once that he was positive. He never told me once that he had any type of disease whatsoever. And as of 2020 of January, I'm HIV positive. But as of yesterday, I went to the doctors and they got me on my medication. I'm taking my medication now. I'm in a place where people love me unconditionally, and they've been in my corner no matter what. And they let me know that this life is still great, life is still beautiful, and I'm going to be okay. I start taking my HRT next Wednesday, and that's a big step for me because now I'm moving on with my life and who I want to be. Like, these things are so amazing. I mean, my body's in pain right now, but it's a great pain. It's a great type of pain. I mean, it hurts when I sit down, and all of this hurts, but it feels great though. Like, I'm moving forward, and he's left a big stain on me, but I'm not letting that hold me down. I'm not going to let that be my downfall. That's going to be my upbringing, because another person that's out there that could be going through the same thing that I'm going through. Like, he took a lot from me. He's a very strong manipulator, and now I'm left with, but it's not the end. It's not the end. It's not the end at all. And I'm healing from that. They're holding my hand through it. They let me know I'm still beautiful. They give it back to me, because for a while I stripped myself from who I am now. I stripped myself from it, and I was hiding. I would put myself back into a closet. Especially her, they pushed me back out, and now I'm back into my shoes again. And I got a great counselor. I have a great big buddy. I have a little buddy that I'm also helping that's in the program who adores me to death and looks up to me and says that she's proud of me. I have 37 days now, I think, sober. It's the first time I ever tried to get sober, and it's beautiful. I'm not looking back. My heart is healing from everything that he has taken from me. And I know that that's nothing but God. That's nothing but God, because there's a lot of times I could have been gone, and I'm still here. So that's how I'm healing. I'm getting back into choir. I'm getting back into gospel. I'm getting back into my word. I read my books every day, every night. I'm giving back great wisdom to everybody around me. and I feel amazing. Like I can exhale now. I'm not hiding anything. I feel free. I feel like there's nothing on me that is making me feel like I'm trapped no more. Like this is beautiful for me. And it's a beautiful thing. I know God meant for me to come here at the time that He did, in the day and time that He did. At 23 years old, and I've been doing this since I was 17, I'm never looking back. I'm moving forward, and it feels amazing to be this way. And I have everybody here to thank for that. I have Him above to thank for that. I have my mama to thank for that. Like life is turning around for me at a young age, and I hope and pray that I keep it on track. And I am gonna do that because I'm gonna fight it to the end. I'm gonna keep on fighting, and like everything is beautiful. Ever since I decided to come here, everything's becoming like this. God been sending me blessings left and right because I decided to wake up and smell the roses and play in the grass, and I feel great. I really do feel great. And with that, you know, when we say here, when we finish, we say, and with that, I pass. So with that, I pass.
I'll go next. You know, I'm far along. We can talk AA stuff, can we? I'm in step 8, so I've been given the gift of reconciliation. I've reconciled with my past, with which I wasn't proud of. And there were things that I had to deal with, both the wreckage of my past and trauma that I had as a child and a young man, that I had to deal with and get out. And that's the beauty of this program. That's the beauty of recovery, just recovery in general. You're able to reconcile with it and then build a new life. We're not rebuilding our old life. We're born anew, and it's even more special for me because I am new. I've been given the gift of being able to be who I am, which is the gift that I can't even begin to explain. It's too strong of an emotion. But I know for my recovery, this Chi and Tyler and all of the people in this program, that's what's going to sustain me, helping others. I know that I want to give back. I want to take action. I want to use my education, my articulation to help my community, to help young girls who are cast out of their homes, who had to sell themselves just to live on the street. I want to get out there. And there were girls that when I was in active addiction, I did the same thing. So I've lived it. I want to help those girls. I know for me, helping other both addicts and just people in our community who need help, that's what will sustain me. That's what will keep me sober. That's what will bring me to the kingdom of heaven. And I always say this, I'm a Les Mis junkie. And at the very end, the last sentence of the epilogue is, to love another person is to see the face of God. And I see that every day in these young people. It's great.
Y'all are just setting it up. I'm over here
For me,
trying
my
to
healing
crack
process.
Go ahead, Tyler. Sorry.
It's okay. For my healing process, it started when I was in rehab, and it's progressed since I've been here. I'm 96 days sober. I'm currently working with my sponsor on a daily basis. I am also on step 8. So Tammy and I are, we're getting to the reconciliation part of the 12 steps, and a huge part of that what comes with that is forgiveness and amends and learning how to move forward with the wreckage of your past. And that is how I'm making progress today. I keep an open mind. I'm vulnerable with my life. I show up for myself and others. And I am following these principles of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. And I feel like I'm well on my way. So with that, I pass.
I agree. It's like my kid.
Yeah, she's Mama Tammy.
I've got kids his age.
Mama Tammy.
I live vicariously.
I just want to say that I hope you guys are also giving yourselves credit, because I know how much pain and work you've gone through to get where you are. And all of you are really inspiring. I had to shut my camera off because I was crying. And Cece, thank you for sharing that with us. I am so proud of you for how far you've come, and you're so young and you're so incredible. You're an incredible person. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And I'm really glad that we're all still here, because a lot of our family isn't. So, and with that, I've been healing for a long time. There was a long time where I drank a lot. I like sought other worldly desires to try to fill the hole where the pain was. And a couple years ago, I started going to therapy, which has been really helpful in my journey. I think talking to anyone about your feelings is really important. Someone you trust, and someone who makes you feel safe. So whether you find that with a family member, a friend, or therapy, therapy has helped me learn how to be graceful with myself. I forgive myself and others all day, every day. And that's really like helped me get through life, is forgiveness and grace. And like, people say things that are hurtful, but that doesn't mean that they hate you or they don't love you. So, and like I said earlier with my dad, like that's his to carry. I'm trying not to hold the burdens of others any longer, because I have my own that I'm trying to release. So just try to look at things from the perspective of, is this my belief or is this their belief? Because a lot of the things I thought were like wrong with me weren't actually my beliefs even. They were just beliefs I was accepting from other people. So yeah, I think with that, I'd pass too.
Oh, wow. I'm sitting here in awe and also just enjoy from hearing you all, share so honestly of yourselves. And that really gives me, sort of strength to lean into that more. Also, I would sort of echo what Erica just said, and to find that safe space, because I promise you that it exists. And maybe you don't find it the first time or the 8th time, but keep trying, because there is safe space. And when you get to that safe space where you are heard and affirmed and loved and celebrated, which every one of us deserves, right? Like that's just it's a very basic sort of human need. And sometimes we convince ourselves that we are not deserving of it, but we are. I promise you. So finding that safe space for me, it was also in like my friend circle has been amazing in whatever city I've lived in. I've always found people who sort of lift me up. But also I had like a medical bout with meningitis a few years ago, and I thought I could die. And to hear some of my friends who like shared within their circle, like, we're not sure that he's going to make it, just like took me to a whole other place. And so anxiety is something that I still deal with to this day. But setting aside my pride to go and seek therapy to deal with that, and to take some pharma every day that helps to regulate that, has helped me to be a fuller person. But as far as that like healing that Bianca talked about, I'm still trying to heal my little. I'm still trying to heal that kid that saw the world in a very different way and felt a little different at an early age, and I think was exploited as a result of that. But understanding that trauma inflicted on me was not my fault, and really standing in that, so that I can be my sort of better self today, that is deserving of love, who's actively seeking. So, you know, if y'all get any like dating referrals, hey, let your boy know what's up. But it just, yeah, find that space. And if that is your, you know, religious leader, if that is your friend or family, or that's the therapist, finding safe space and building community can really, you know, I don't know, just make everything better. And so, and going back to grace, 2020 and 2021 have been, oh my gosh, so challenging, I think, for all of us. And so leading and extending grace means that you can extend it to other folks, but we also have to like do that for ourselves as a very basic gift. So I'm still working on healing my little, but I'm better, and my little is better for this experience. So thank all of you for sharing of yourselves in a way that really affirms and lifts me up. I appreciate you.
You all are so brilliant. And it is like, I keep trying, I'm like, okay, when I cry, I'm done. Like, I can't talk anymore, it's over. So Erica, I was with you, I was like, I can't necessarily go off camera because I need to be present, and I'm here. So, you know, light-skinned people get really red, and it's not a pretty cry. So it's a thing that I'm trying to navigate through right now. But I am just so blessed to be in this space with each of you, and so honored to like be able to step back and just be present and to listen. One of the things that I have learned throughout my journey of being an ally, which to me means that I recognize all of the unearned privilege that I have received from everything that society patterns and how it creates injustices. And for me, that also means taking some deep responsibility for changing those patterns, and to also sit in a space of leveraging my power, any influence I have, and any privilege that I have, to make sure that people that I love and care for, or people that I don't even know yet and still love and care for, can feel safe in their own bodies and in any space they enter into. And so I feel very privileged to be in the presence of each of you as you have shared your journey, and to sit in a place where I recognize and uplift the fact that whenever we talk about healing, whenever we talk about transitioning, whenever we talk about coming out, like all of these things means there's a destructive process that happens in order to get us to the new. Like, we actually have to take apart pieces of ourselves, like Erica just shared, that we thought were our own, that were really somebody else's. Or to Cece's point, we have to go through stories with family that we thought had molded us and reshape ourselves. Like, each of you have pieces of your story that have shared not only how you've lived your brilliance, and also for me, like a deep part that you didn't necessarily say in words, but what it has felt like to actually choose to love yourself on an everyday basis, regardless of what anyone else is saying to the contradictory. And so that to me is brilliance. That to me is wisdom. And so this has been just such a beautiful conversation. And thank you for letting me be in this space with you. And so as we move to close, I want to open up space. Before we do that, is there anything else that anyone needs to say, needs to share, wants to uplift? And the other thing I want to say is, Cece, I have a really good friend that is HIV positive and has been HIV positive for 12 years and is still alive and is still kicking butt, because they'll bleep me out if I say the A word, and is still living in a space where every day for them is like joy, unabundant, unrefined joy. And so I invite you into that space to love yourself and to just be in a place where you can say, okay, this is who I am and all of who I am. And to like, let your body be. Like, give yourself that grace that you have given every other member of your family. Give yourself that grace that people may not invite you into. And you all are living like the truth for me. So I appreciate that. And I'm gonna step back for a second to open up space for any last comments or thoughts.
Thank you. I appreciate all of that 100-fold. Like, because at first, you know, going through the motions, I was horrified. I was crying. I was hurt. Hold on for 1 second, please.
Sorry, we're having a technical problem.
I was muted talking. You're perfectly fine.
So my apologies. It's a beautiful thing because at first, when I was laying in that bedroom, my mama's not there, nobody's around me, and I was scared because I passed out on the street. I was walking with my dude, and we was walking down the street, and my body was going through a lot of pain, and I couldn't answer. Like I always went through pain doing drugs, but I didn't know this pain, and I swore those was my last breaths. I swore I wasn't gonna be able to see my mama again. I swore I wasn't gonna be able to see my family again, and I'm laying in that bed, and I'm sitting there like the doctor's about to come in here and tell me I'm dying. And the doctors came in and they said, "Hi, how you doing?" And my whole, this feeling that you get in your chest where you're like, "Uh-oh, something's wrong." And they was looking at me, and then the nurse lady starts to cry. She looks at me. She said, "I reviewed your records, and your records are clean." I said, "Yeah, I've been trying to keep it that way." And she said, "Have you ever contracted HIV?" And I said, "No." And I started crying, and I said, "Why?" And she said, "Well, it's popping up on your test. We're gonna run some more tests, but it's popping up on your test that you're now HIV positive." And I bust out crying. I'm like, this is the end of the world. I hear people that's dying from it. I hear people that's like, it's bad sides of the fence of it and everything. And she walked in and she said, "We'll work with you. We'll work with you." And I snatched the IVs and stuff on my arm and I tried to run out the hospital. By the time I got to the bottom of the stairs, the police was sitting on the outside and grabbed me and carried me back upstairs. And I'm up there kicking and screaming, I'm crying. But the more I do that, the more my energy is being taken from me. I passed out again, woke up again, and they got me calm, my body's okay, and PMAR put me back out the hospital because I didn't have any medication at the time. So now I can't get the help I need. Now I'm back on the streets and I'm walking. The more I'm walking, I keep dropping. It took me 2 days to get to where I needed to be at because I was walking on foot because I didn't have no money to get to where I needed to. It took me 2 days. I fell asleep on the church, on the front of the church. I fell asleep on the front of the church. And I remember waking up to a homeless man, and I'm homeless too, a homeless man that might have seemed way worse off than I was, who put $5 in my hand and said, "We got you." And I don't know if anybody been down, but when you come off of drugs and your body is fighting off of something as strong as HIV, you have this smell on you that smells like death and it's horrible. So I'm crying and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And for like 2 weeks straight, my body just kept dropping. I wasn't eating, I wasn't nothing, and I was frail. I was skinny now, but I was frail, bony, and I was out of life. A girl walked into the room, and it was one of my friends at the time that was a real deeply friend who brought me back up. She gave me water. She was there for me. So that's how I know, despite drugs, there's still love somewhere out there in that area because she showed me unconditional love. And with the grace of God with her, I was back up moving. I was back up fighting. I was back up trying to get myself back. She kept trying to get me back. I started singing again. She tried to get me back in music. And she told me that I live with it. So I understand. And then I told her to look at her. And there was so many people that figured out that that's what happened to me. That's what he did to me. So many people was coming out saying, I live with it. And I'm still here. I live with it. I'm still here. I live with it. I'm still here. So then now I'm a part of a picture that I feel like, okay, well, this is not the end of the world. I do matter. I'm still going to be beautiful. This is not CeCe's last words goodbye. This is only CeCe's words now saying I'm starting to live. I'm not saying bye. I'm saying hi. So now, I feel great. It's beautiful for me. And now I have a story. That's why I share it. Like, it's scary and, it makes me nervous, but somebody out there has to hear that a 23-year-old born December 12, 1997, who comes from a good family and had to go through hell and trial, high waters just to, excuse my French, and just to, get back up. I'm here. I can walk. I can talk. I have bad days. I have bad moments, not bad days. And she told me this, my mom told me this. You have bad moments, not bad days. And even though my body's in pain, my spirit is beautiful. My spirit is happy. God's proud of me. They're proud of me. And they helping me walk this walk together. And that means a lot to me because a while ago, people used to make me feel like when I told them that this was the problem, this is what they'd do. And it made me feel like exiled. It made me feel like I just didn't belong. So I started feeling horrible. But I told my family, I told them, these people became my family. And my mom said it's going to be okay. Now, she don't really touch on those subjects a lot. And she's real, maybe she'll come around. Because where I need her to be there with me. Like, I want her to be like how these people, but you can't make people do that. So these people take the initiative to step in that role for me, especially Tammy, and especially there's one in there named Alicia. She went to the hospital with me. She's my big buddy. She went to the hospital with me yesterday. She sat in the chair with me as they draw 23 capsules. They had to fill up 23 capsules. She sat there with me and she held my hand and she said, "It's gonna be all right. You're doing the right thing." And by the end of it, when it was all said and done, I had my medication in my hand. And I looked up at the sky to God and I said, "This is you giving me my second chance. This is not being there over. This is you giving me my second chance." And I'm taking that for a throttle. And they got my back. And I know I probably just repeated everything I said again, but it's beautiful. This is an amazing journey, and I'm happy that I get to be a part of it on the sober side. Think clearly and have my mind cleared and my heart clear and my thoughts are clear, and I'm able to be myself the way I want to be without any disruptors whatsoever from any negativity or any bad influence on my life. And that's beautiful. I'm thanking God for everything that He's given me. And with that, I pass.
So I would just like to add, Cece said a lot and said most of it, but coming from a different perspective of someone who was born in 1968, and I led the better part of 50 years, I silently suffered. I would say to the people who are watching this, don't silently suffer. It's okay to come out. It's okay to be who you are. You will be accepted. You don't have to live in fear. Be who you are. Be your genuine self. Love yourself. With that, you will gain grace, and your life will be wonderful. It'll give you more than what you'll ever know.
I'll let you interject with that one. That's beautiful, and that's a beautiful message because of kids that's going through the motions that we went through when we were younger, like around the 7 or 8 age, knows that it's okay to be yourself, and don't let your family and your parents make you feel like that your feelings aren't valid, because they are valid. I promise you, y'all will have so much more of a better life, because then you're not living in the shadows. You're not living in somebody else's closet. Your closet door is open. There's no skeletons in it. It's just closed. And that closet door is able to be open at any time. And you're going to feel good. You're going to feel great because it feels beautiful being you, authentically you. And look at all of us.
I'll expand upon that. Those of you out there who are out like myself, don't sit on your butt. Get out there and help others. Be of service of the community that has given you so much, that gives you so much. Give back, because you will receive so much more than you've ever given by giving.
Whitney Houston, I'm everywhere.
Both of y'all literally made me thought it's a fabulous clothes in that closet.
I think we're good.
I just want to lift up again what Cece said so much. I just so appreciate all of you. But I heard 3 words, Cece, that really just like opened my heart more. And that is, I do matter. What an amazing gift, right? To give to ourselves, to say, I do matter. And so that's what I want to amplify to those watching this, that you do matter. Just as you are, you do matter. And yeah. Yes, Cece, you matter. We all do, but yes, you do matter. Thank you.
Any final words, Erica?
I don't I don't think so. I mean, I am really grateful to be here and to listen to all of your stories. I know that we are here for a reason. Everyone is here for a reason. Even if you feel like no one else in the world cares and you're completely alone, just hold on. Just keep trying. Just work through it. Keep trying to love yourself. I'm at a point in my life where I love myself more than I ever have. And I had to go through a lot of trauma and I had to do a lot of really, really hard things to get here. And if I wouldn't have done those hard things, then I definitely wouldn't be here. So just keep having grace. You can do the hard things, and just keep doing your best to love yourself, even when you're annoying and you let yourself down. Like, just keep doing your best to love yourself. Just forgive yourself. Life is too short.
Yes to all of those things. So yes, I'm here celebrating each of you and all of those statements. So we will move into close. And as we transition into this space, I just want to again thank each of you as our guests. Thank you for sharing your story, for being open, for modeling for us what freedom is in living space. It means so much. This has been a rich and deep conversation, and we, just like most of these conversations, are just barely scratching the surface and also sinking really deep. So sitting in a place where we've talked about bravery in the middle of fear, fighting for ourselves, fighting for our family, forgiveness and amends, finding family, celebrating recovery and freedom, creating your new and being able to show up in that. Sexual orientation and gender identity are integral aspects of ourselves and should never, ever lead to discrimination or abuse. And so in this space, we also want to uplift that as we are in the middle of Pride Month, we want to remember the 1969 Stonewall Inn riots, also referenced earlier as just Stonewall. We have to continue to advocate for laws and policies that protect every person's dignity, as we also do the work of figuring out how we honor our own. For anyone that is in a space of fear or doubt, all you need to know is everything that they shared. You are everything that this world needs right now. We need you. We need your breath. We need your brilliance. We need you to be able to embody the you that you have maybe kept inside for fear of your own safety. We want to let you know that this is a safer space and that it can be cultivated in community that loves and cares for you and will not put boundaries on who you are or how you express that person. This is a space where we learn what it feels like to protect each other, even in the midst of being afraid. So thank you, and thank you to each of our wonderful guests. Next month, we'll be continuing to go deeper into conversations regarding our stories and our healing. On July 23rd, please join us for Know Your Worth through the same platform that you're watching us on today.